Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you follow our channel, you know we have a team of experts who regularly review changes on the GED. This year, GED held a very important conference in the summer, and we were able to ask them, what are some of the questions and skills covered on the RLA multiple choice? We found out that there are 3 important topics you should be reviewing. These are interpreting words in context, examining text structure, and assessing how point of view shapes informational texts. So today, we are going to show you how to handle a passage similar to what you'll encounter on the GED RLA exam given these topics. We'll walk through some questions together, discuss the answers, and I'll share some strategies to help you succeed. Let's review the passage together. Feel free to pause anywhere during the readings and be sure to take screenshots and make your own notes. First, you should look at the title. Often the title gives you an indication of the main idea and what the passage is all about. The title here is The Evolution of Communication in the Digital Age. Given this title, what do you think the passage will be about? Pause here and think about it. If you say it would likely explore how communication methods and practices have transformed due to advancements in digital technology, you would be on the right track. The term evolution suggests a focus on how communication has changed and developed over time, emphasizing a timeline of progression and advancement. Communication, as the core topic, implies a broad exploration of how people exchange information, including various methods, practices, or the emergence of new technologies. Then the phrase digital age anchors us in the present era, known for rapid technological advancements, particularly those shaping our lives since the late 20th century. When these elements are combined, the title hints that the passage will explore the transformation of communication methods brought on by digital technologies, tracing how these changes have impacted society from past practices to modern digital interactions. This approach not only highlights the historical context, but also the profound influence of digital innovation on human connectivity. If you break down the title in this way, you can better understand the passage and answer questions correctly. Let's review the passage together. Do your pause and screenshots as always. As you read, take notes and review any words or concepts that you're not familiar with. In the past 2 decades, the advent of social media has significantly transformed the way individuals communicate. Traditional forms of interaction, such as face-to-face conversations and written letters, have been supplemented and in some cases replaced by digital exchanges conducted through various platforms. This shift has not only altered personal relationships, but has also impacted societal dynamics on a broader scale. One of the most notable changes is the immediacy of communication. Social media allows users to share thoughts, images, and videos instantaneously with a global audience. This immediacy fosters a sense of connectedness that transcends geographical boundaries. However, it also raises concerns about the depth of these interactions. Critics argue that online communication can be superficial, lacking the nuances and emotional richness of in-person encounters. Moreover, the digital age has democratized the dissemination of information. Individuals can now contribute to public discourse without the traditional gatekeepers of media outlets. While this democratization empowers voices that might otherwise go unheard, it also poses challenges in verifying the credibility of information. The spread of misinformation and echo chambers can lead to polarization and misinformed publics. In addition, social media has redefined concepts of privacy and self-presentation. Users curate their online personas, often projecting idealized versions of themselves. This curation can affect self-esteem and social comparisons as individuals measure their lives against the highlight reels of others. Furthermore, the permanence of digital footprints raises questions about long-term implications for personal and professional relationships. As society continues to navigate the complexities introduced by social media, it is essential to consider both its benefits and drawbacks. By fostering critical engagement and promoting digital literacy, individuals can harness the positive aspects of these platforms while mitigating the negative effects on communication and society. Take the time to review the passage on your own once more and make notes. Here are all the questions. If you want to, you can pause the video here and answer the questions, and then come back, so we can do it together. Be sure to jot down any strategies that you use. Are you ready? Here we go. First up, number 1 asks us about the word democratized in the context of the passage. It says the author mentions that social media has democratized the dissemination of information. So, what does democratized most nearly mean here? How do you feel about this question? Remember we said earlier that when we spoke to GED in the summer, they said they will focus on interpreting words in context. On the GED exam, they often test your ability to understand words based on context. Interpreting words in context refers to understanding the meaning of words based on how the word is being used in the sentence. It also involves looking at how words interact with each other within sentences and paragraphs, which can influence their specific meanings and nuances. This skill is crucial because many words have multiple meanings or can change meaning depending on the context, affecting the overall comprehension of a text. Interpreting words in context helps ensure accurate understanding and effective communication. So, given this fact, look at your answer. Go back at the passage where democratized is used. It says, moreover, the digital age has democratized the dissemination of information. Individuals can now contribute to public discourse without the traditional gatekeepers of media outlets. Based on that, can you figure out what democratized means? Feel free to pause the video and think it over. If you thought it means made accessible to all, you're absolutely right. In this context, democratized means that information sharing has become open to everyone, bypassing the traditional barriers set by media outlets. Now, why might other interpretations be incorrect? For instance, limited access to is actually the opposite of what's described. The passage talks about removing limitations. Regulated strictly doesn't fit because the passage emphasizes fewer controls, not more. And improve the quality of isn't the focus here. It's about accessibility, not necessarily quality. A useful strategy is to substitute each option into the sentence to see which one makes the most sense. All right, let's move on to the next question. Number 2 is asking us to identify the overall structure of the passage. So, which description best fits how the passage is organized? This is about examining text structure, which is the next skill they told us about. Think about how the author presents their ideas throughout the passage. In the context of the GED, examining text structure refers to analyzing how information is organized within a passage. This may be chronological, or in sequence of events, or even alphabetical. It also includes identifying features like headings, paragraphs, and the sequence of ideas to understand the main points and the author's intent. This skill helps test takers comprehend the text more effectively and answer questions about it accurately. Go ahead and pause if you need a moment to reflect. If you concluded that the passage is a comparison and contrast of social media's benefits and drawbacks, then you've got it. The author discusses both the positive aspects, like immediacy and connectedness, and the negative aspects, such as superficial interactions and misinformation. Why might other choices not be accurate? A chronological account of social media development doesn't fit because the passage doesn't go through events in order over time. An argument advocating for increased regulation of social media isn't correct because the author doesn't push for more regulation. A cause and effect analysis isn't the primary structure, even though some cause and effect relationships are mentioned. Remember, looking for signal words like however, moreover, and in addition can help you determine the structure. Let's keep going. Now, number 3 wants us to identify the author's point of view regarding social media. So, which statement best describes how the author feels? Assessing how point of view shapes informational texts is key here. This is the third skill they gave us that we are alerting you on. Assessing how point of view shapes informational texts involves analyzing the perspective from which the text is written and understanding how this influences the content and presentation of information. This includes recognizing whether the text uses a first-person, second-person, or third-person perspective, and noting how this choice affects the tone, style, and credibility of the information presented. By evaluating the point of view, readers can discern potential biases, understand different sides of an argument, and gain a deeper appreciation of the text's purpose and message. Think about the tone and perspective the author uses. Pause the video if you'd like to ponder this. Tone refers to the attitude or emotional mood conveyed by the words chosen by the author. If you believe the author presents a balanced view, acknowledging both positives and negatives, then you're correct. The passage discusses benefits like connectivity and drawbacks like misinformation, showing a balanced perspective. Why aren't the other options fitting? Saying the author thinks social media is detrimental and should be avoided isn't accurate. They don't suggest avoiding it altogether. The idea that the author is indifferent doesn't hold because they clearly express thoughts on both sides. And viewing social media as a passing trend isn't suggested in the passage. A tip here is to look for language that indicates the author's stance, whether they're biased, neutral, or balanced. On to the next question. Number 4 asks about the term echo chambers used in the passage. What does this mean in context? Again, we're looking at interpreting words in context. Let's revisit where echo chambers appears. The spread of misinformation and echo chambers can lead to polarization and misinformed publics. Given this, can you infer what echo chambers means? Pause if you need some time. If you said it's environments where one's beliefs are reinforced without challenge, you're right on target. In social media, echo chambers refer to situations where people only engage with information that confirms their existing beliefs. Other interpretations don't fit well. Places where sounds are amplified is a literal meaning but doesn't suit the context. Rooms designed for acoustic testing is too specific and unrelated. Social gatherings where debates occur is the opposite since echo chambers lack opposing views. When you encounter figurative language, think about the broader message the author conveys. Let's proceed. Moving to number 5, the question is about how the author develops the idea that social media affects self-esteem. What's the method used here? This requires examining how the author builds upon ideas. Recall the section discussing self-presentation and self-esteem. Take a moment to think it over. If you thought the author describes how users curate idealized online personas, you're correct. They explain that people often present the best versions of themselves online, which can impact how others feel about their own lives. Why don't the other options work? Providing statistical data on mental health isn't something the author does here. Recounting personal anecdotes isn't present. They don't share specific stories. Comparing social media to traditional media outlets doesn't specifically address self-esteem in this context. A helpful approach is to look for the evidence or examples the author uses to support their points. All right, let's move forward. Number 6 asks about the author's perspective on the permanence of digital footprints and what it suggests. So, what does the author think about this? Assessing point of view again, consider how the author discusses digital footprints. Feel free to pause and reflect. If you answered that they see it as potentially problematic due to lasting consequences, you're absolutely correct. The author raises concerns about how permanent online actions can affect personal and professional relationships in the long term. Other options don't align with the passage. Suggesting it's beneficial for maintaining long-term relationships isn't the angle the author takes here. Saying it's irrelevant contradicts the author's concerns. Claiming it's essential for building an online presence misses the focus on potential negative implications. Pay attention to the nuances in the author's language to grasp their perspective. Let's keep going. Next up, number 7 is about the phrase, fosters a sense of connectedness that transcends geographical boundaries. What does this most nearly mean? This is another opportunity to interpret words in context. Think about what the author is conveying with this phrase. Take a moment to consider your thoughts. If you thought it means encourages global unity beyond physical distances, then you're correct. The author is highlighting how social media allows people to connect regardless of where they are in the world. Why aren't the other interpretations suitable? Forces people to move to different locations isn't implied. Hinders relationships across countries is the opposite of what's stated. Ignores the importance of local communities isn't discussed in this context. A good strategy is to rephrase the sentence in your own words to understand its meaning better. Moving on to number 8. This question asks about the role of the third paragraph in developing the passage's ideas. What function does it serve? Here, we're examining text structure again. Let's recall what the third paragraph talks about: the democratization of information and the challenges it brings, like misinformation. Based on that, can you determine its role? Pause if you'd like to think it over. If you concluded that it elaborates on a negative consequence of social media, you're correct. The paragraph talks about how the spread of misinformation can lead to polarization. Other options don't quite fit. Introducing a counterargument isn't accurate because the paragraph continues the exploration of social media's impact. Providing an example to support the previous paragraph isn't the main function here. Summarizing key points made earlier isn't what the paragraph does. It introduces new concerns. Understanding how each part of the passage contributes to the overall message is crucial. Almost there. Number 9 asks how the author's point of view influences the presentation of information about misinformation. What's the impact here? Assessing point of view once more, consider how the author discusses misinformation in the passage. Pause to reflect if needed. If you think the author highlights it to emphasize the need for critical engagement, then you're indeed correct. They bring attention to misinformation to stress the importance of being critically engaged and promoting digital literacy. Why might other options be less accurate? Saying the author downplays the issue isn't supported. They address it directly. Ignoring it completely isn't the case, as it's a significant part of the discussion. Using it to argue against social media entirely isn't accurate, because the author acknowledges both benefits and drawbacks. A strategy here is to consider the author's intent in including specific information. Finally, number 10 asks which sentence serves as the thesis or main idea of the passage. Which one do you think it is? Identifying the thesis helps you understand the central message. Think about which sentence best encapsulates the overall point. Pause the video to decide. If you chose, as society continues to navigate the complexities introduced by social media, it is essential to consider both its benefits and drawbacks. Then you've nailed it. This sentence sums up the main idea of weighing the pros and cons of social media as we move forward. Why aren't the other sentences the thesis? The first sentence introduces the topic but doesn't present the main argument. The sentences about immediacy and democratization are important points, but serve as supporting details rather than the central thesis. Remember, the thesis often reflects the author's purpose and is sometimes found near the beginning or end of a passage. Great job working through these questions. Remember, practicing these types of questions and applying these strategies will boost your confidence on exam day. Thanks for joining us today. Remember that these skills and questions are only a few examples. Be sure to review the others as we post them for you. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more GED prep content. See you next time, and happy studying!